If you haven't watched part 1 of this story, then please make sure to watch part 1 to understand. Previously, in the story, Backrooms Beyond the Reality, the characters find themselves trapped in a mysterious and dangerous place known as the Backrooms. Led by Dr. Selvig, a group of 4, Josh, Felix, Sarah, and Dr. Selvig, band together to survive.
The morning sun, a sickly yellow disk in the backroom's sky, cast long shadows as they emerged from the faculty building. Dr. Selvig, sporting a surprisingly unwrinkled hazmat suit, how did he do that? Adjusted his visor. "All right, team," he announced, his voice still raspy from sleep. "Let's explore, stick together, and avoid becoming monster snacks. And remember, no more disagreements." He pointedly looked at Josh and Felix, who exchanged sheepish glances. "No promises," Felix mumbled, his beard twitching with barely suppressed amusement. They ventured deeper into the back rooms, the silence broken only by the crunch of their boots on the dust-covered floor. Suddenly, Felix stopped, his eyes widening. "Look!" he exclaimed, pointing towards a doorway. "Is that a vending machine?" Hope flickered in their eyes. Could it be real? Could it offer some form of sustenance, a break from the monotony of stale protein bars? Josh, ever the pragmatist, squinted at the machine. "It's probably empty," he muttered, "just another cruel joke of this place." But Felix, fueled by the image of a cold soda and a bag of chips, was already charging towards it. "Don't be a negative Nancy, accountant boy. Let's check it out." As they approached, a creaking sound echoed from the machine. Suddenly, a metal panel on the side popped open, revealing a grinning, pixelated face with one giant eye. "Greetings, travelers," the voice boomed, distorted and robotic. "Welcome to the Backrooms Emporium. What can I interest you in?" Felix's eyes lit up. "Do you have Mountain Dew?" The machine chuckled, a sound like nails on a chalkboard. "Mountain Dew, you humans are so predictable. But alas, I am fresh out. However, I do have a selection of fine Backrooms beverages." It displayed a holographic menu: icy tea, glitch water, existential despair soda. Josh, ever the voice of reason, scoffed. "Those sound terrible." Felix, ever the impulsive one, grinned. "Challenge accepted. I'll try the existential despair soda. How bad could it be?" He inserted a crumpled protein bar, the only form of currency the machine accepted, and the can clattered out. As Felix took a sip, his eyes widened. It tastes like the meaninglessness of existence," he spluttered, his voice thick with mock horror. Josh burst into laughter, the sound echoing in the vast emptiness. "See, I told you it would be terrible." Felix, stung by the laughter, shoved Josh playfully. "Oh yeah, well, at least I'm not afraid to try new things, unlike some accountant boys stuck in their spreadsheets." Before Josh could retort, Sarah stepped in, her voice firm but laced with amusement. "Oh no, not again. Guys, seriously, we need to work together, not fight like toddlers over a bad soda." Felix, seeing the point, sighed dramatically. Fine, truce, accountant boy. For now." He extended a fist, his beard twitching with a hint of a grin. Josh hesitated, then bumped his fist with it. "Truce it is, Mr. Mismatched Mittens. But if you even think about stealing my protein bars." He trailed off, leaving the threat hanging in the air. They continued their exploration, the tension replaced by a cautious camaraderie. The Backrooms might be a place of fear, but even here, amidst the dust and despair, there was room for a little bit of laughter, a little bit of hope, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of friendship. As they walked, the pixelated face from the vending machine popped back up. "Hey, travelers, don't forget to leave a review. 5 stars for existential despair soda." Felix, still reeling from the experience, could only groan. But a small smile played on his lips, hidden beneath his beard. Even in the Backrooms, life, or at least its absurd counterpart, found a way. The 4 survivors, Sarah, Dr. Selvig, Felix, and Josh, trudged through the labyrinthine corridors of the Backrooms. Dust motes danced in the sickly yellow light, and the silence was broken only by the rhythmic crunch of their boots. "So, Doc," Felix rumbled, his voice echoing in the emptiness, "what's the plan? Do we just wander aimlessly until we turn into dust ourselves?" Dr. Selvig, his visor glinting in the dim light, adjusted his mask. "Patience, Mr. Caveman Chic. We're searching for an exit, a way out of this predicament." "Yeah, but are you sure there even is one?" Felix scoffed. "This place seems like a one-way ticket to Nowhereville." Dr. Selvig straightened his shoulders, a spark of defiance in his voice. "I have faith. There are rumors, whispers of a hidden exit, guarded by..." He paused, his voice dropping to a dramatic whisper, "unspeakable horrors." Felix snorted. "Unspeakable horrors? Huh, sounds like my accountant friend here after a bad day with spreadsheets." Josh, ever the target of Felix's playful jabs, rolled his eyes. "Oh, grow up, Mr. Mismatched Mittens. At least I don't look like I raided a Bigfoot's wardrobe for fashion inspiration." Sarah, the voice of reason amidst the chaos, chuckled. "Guys, can we focus? We need to find this exit, not roast each other like Thanksgiving turkeys." Suddenly, Felix stopped, his beard twitching with excitement. "Hey, look, a door!" He pointed towards a doorway, its edges shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Hope flickered in their eyes. Could this be it, the long-awaited escape route? Felix, ever the impulsive one, reached out and flung the door open. A blinding flash of light erupted, followed by a loud, wet splattering sound. As the light faded, they saw Felix, covered head to toe in a strange, slimy goo. His beard drooped, matted with the mysterious substance. A disembodied voice, filled with static, echoed from the doorway. "Incorrect. Please try again." The door vanished with a pop, leaving only the echoing silence and the pungent smell of, well, whatever the goo was made of. Silence reigned for a beat, then, laughter erupted. Sarah doubled over, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Selvig chuckled, his visor shaking with mirth. Even Josh couldn't help but grin. Felix, still dripping with goo, sputtered in outrage. "What's so funny? I almost got whatever that was all over me." "Oh, come on, Mr. Mismatched Mittens," Sarah gasped between laughs. "You looked like you got ambushed by a particularly enthusiastic snail." Felix, his anger momentarily forgotten, couldn't help but chuckle himself. All right, you win this round. But mark my words, next time, I'll find the real exit, no goo involved." They continued their journey, the memory of the gooey door and Felix's misfortune etched in their minds. The Backrooms might be a place of fear and uncertainty, but even here, a shared laugh could be a powerful weapon, a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, there was still room for a little bit of hope, a little bit of camaraderie, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of fun. 3 hours had crawled by, measured only by the rhythmic crunch of their boots and the slow tick of despair in their hearts. The initial spark of hope ignited by Dr. Selvig's rumors had dwindled to a flickering ember. "Seriously, Doc," Felix grumbled, his voice heavy with exhaustion, "how long are we going to walk around in circles? This exit sounds about as real as a unicorn with a jetpack." Josh, ever the optimist, shot him a determined look. "Don't be such a downer, Mr. Mismatched Mittens. We have to trust Dr. Selvig. He wouldn't lead us on a wild goose chase, would you, Doc?" Dr. Selvig, his voice distorted by his mask, offered a reassuring nod. "I wouldn't, Josh. I believe the rumors are true. We just need to keep searching." A small smile played on Josh's lips, a beacon of hope in the gloomy environment. Sarah, sensing the tension building between Felix and Josh, interjected with a playful chuckle. "Come on, you two," she said, her voice laced with amusement. Fighting won't get us out of here any faster. Besides, wouldn't you rather be bickering while walking towards an exit than just bickering while standing still? Felix, his gruff exterior momentarily softened, conceded with a shrug. Yeah, alright, fair point. But if we see another goo spewing door, I'm blaming the accountant. Josh, unfazed by the playful jab, retorted, only if you blame yourself for getting lost in the first place, Mr. Beardasaurus Rex. Their bickering, though laced with frustration, was a welcome change from the oppressive silence that had threatened to consume them. As they walked, they argued about the best way to escape, the merits of different hazmat suit styles. According to Felix, Josh's was severely lacking in apocalyptic chic, and the most efficient way to fold a protein bar, a surprisingly heated debate initiated by Sarah. Their journey through the backrooms may have been fraught with danger and uncertainty, but the camaraderie they had forged, fueled by shared fear and a healthy dose of humor, became their most valuable weapon. Hope flickered like a dying flame as the four friends trudged through the unending yellow corridors. They had been searching for hours, and the promise of an exit seemed more like a cruel joke with every passing minute. Suddenly, Felix, who seemed to have an uncanny knack for finding trouble, stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened, his beard twitching with excitement. "Guys, look!" he exclaimed, pointing towards a small object lying on the dusty floor. "It's a chocolate bar." He eagerly approached the chocolate, its wrapper slightly crumpled but the candy seemingly intact. Relief washed over them, a small reprieve from the monotony of protein bars. "Finally, something decent to eat," Felix declared, reaching for the chocolate. Sarah, her voice laced with caution, warned, "Be careful, Felix. It could be a trap." Felix scoffed, his hand already tearing the wrapper open. "What's the worst that could happen? It's just a chocolate bar." With a triumphant grin, he took a bite. His expression, however, quickly morphed into one of utter horror. Instead of the expected sweetness, a loud pop echoed through the corridor as the chocolate exploded in a shower of goo. The sticky, pungent substance splattered all over Felix's face and beard, turning what was once a hopeful moment into a scene of utter chaos. Felix, covered in goo for the second time that day, sputtered in outrage. "Goo! Again! This son of a goo! What is it with this place and this goo?" Dr. Selvig, Sarah, and Josh, who had been bracing themselves for the worst, could no longer hold back. They burst into uncontrollable laughter, tears streaming down their faces. "Oh, Felix," Sarah gasped between laughs, "you look like you got attacked by a particularly disgruntled slime monster." Josh, wiping tears from his eyes, added, "Maybe next time, try not to eat random things you find lying around in the back rooms, Mr. Mismatched Mittens." Even Dr. Selvig, his usual stoicism momentarily forgotten, chuckled under his breath. Felix, his face still adorned with the gooey testament to his misfortune, could only grumble in defeat. All right, you win. I should have known better than to trust a random candy bar in this place." Despite the laughter and Felix's sticky predicament, a spark of hope rekindled within them. Even in the face of danger and misfortune, they found solace in their shared experiences, the absurdity of their situation fueling a camaraderie that transcended the fear and uncertainty of the backrooms. As they helped Felix clean the goo, a process that involved a surprising amount of arguing about the most efficient method, they continued their journey, their laughter echoing through the corridors. They were still lost, still searching for an exit, but they were together, and in that moment, that was all that mattered. The laughter from Felix's gooey misfortune had faded, replaced by a tense silence as they continued their exploration. Dr. Selvig, his visor glinting in the dim light, stopped abruptly. "This place," he murmured, his voice low and disbelieving. "It's familiar." Sarah, Felix, and Josh looked at him, their faces etched with confusion. "Familiar," Sarah echoed. "What do you mean?" Dr. Selvig hesitated, then continued, his voice laced with a newfound urgency. I received a video message a long time ago. It showed this place, these very corridors. It was a plea for help, a warning, but it was cut short." A collective gasp escaped their lips. The whispers of an exit, the rumors they had clung to, suddenly felt like a cruel joke. This place, filled with dust and despair, held the echoes of others who had been lost, their fates sealed in the silence. As they walked further, their steps heavy with dread, they stumbled upon a sight that sent a shiver down their spines. Scattered across the floor lay several figures, their bodies mummified husks, their hazmat suits faded and tattered. The weight of their mortality hung heavy in the air, a grim reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Sarah, her voice barely a whisper, uttered a choked cry. "Oh my God, this is insane." She instinctively reached for Josh's hand, her grip tight. Josh, his cheeks flushed a faint pink, stammered, well, these people, they're dead, right, Doc?" Felix, his usual bravado replaced by a grimace, stared at the lifeless forms. Dr. Selvig, his face etched with a mixture of shock and determination, knelt beside one of the bodies. He reached out a gloved hand and picked up a small object lying near it, a video camera, its casing cracked and dusty. He held it up, his voice grim. "This might hold the answers we've been searching for, but it also might hold the key to our demise." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of their discovery. The Backrooms, a place of fear and uncertainty, had revealed its true face, a graveyard for the lost and forgotten. But amidst the despair, a flicker of hope remained. The video camera, a potential key to escape, offered a chance, however slim, to break free from the clutches of this place. Dr. Selvig popped the video camera into his pocket, his face grim. He rewound it, then pressed play. As the grainy footage flickered to life, a sense of dread settled over the group. It was a recording of the very corridor they stood in, but eerily deserted. Suddenly, Dr. Selvig's hand shot up, silencing the room. A heavy thump echoed through the corridors, a deep, rhythmic sound that sent shivers down their spines. "What was that?" Josh whispered, his voice trembling. Dr. Selvig's face was pale behind his mask. "I don't know," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "But whatever it is, it's big." The echoing footsteps continued, growing louder, closer. Panic surged through the group. "We need to hide," Dr. Selvig hissed, his voice urgent. They frantically scanned the room for cover. Their eyes fell on a row of rusty lockers lining the far wall. Without a word, they sprinted towards them, the pounding of their hearts echoing in their ears. Sarah and Josh dove into a locker, slamming the door shut. Sarah, her body pressed against Josh's in the cramped space, squeezed his hand tightly. Josh, his face burning crimson, instinctively held her closer, his heart hammering against his ribs. In the next locker, Dr. Selvig and Felix huddled together, their voices muffled but their fear palpable. The heavy footsteps reached its peak, then, silence. They held their breaths, straining to hear any sound. Time seemed to stretch into eternity. Finally, after what felt like an hour, a low rumble faded into the distance. Slowly, Dr. Selvig reached out and opened the locker door. Relief washed over him as he saw the empty corridor. He turned to the others, helping them out of their cramped hiding places. "It's gone," he said, his voice shaky. Sarah, still shaken, clung to Josh's arm for a moment before taking a deep breath. What was that thing?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dr. Selvig, his face grim, shook his head. I don't know, but I think we have our answer to who the dead bodies belong to." The video camera, clutched tightly in Dr. Selvig's hand, felt heavier now, a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows. The Backrooms, they realized, were not just a place of despair and forgotten hope. They were a hunting ground, and they were the prey. The echo of the monstrous footsteps had faded, leaving behind an oppressive silence broken only by the ragged breaths of the survivors. Relief filled the air, a balm to their frayed nerves. But the moment was short-lived. A blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, a chilling sound that sent shivers down their spines. It originated from the distance, a desperate plea swallowed by the yellow-lit depths of the Backrooms. Josh, his voice barely above a whisper, turned to Dr. Selvig. What was that? Dr. Selvig's face was grim, his eyes locked on the direction of the scream. That, my friends, he said, his voice low and heavy, was the bacterium. Josh's eyes widened in disbelief. Bacteria? You're kidding, right, Doc? Those are microscopic things, not whatever screamed like that. Sarah, her face pale, shook her head. He's not talking about the kind of bacteria you learn about in school, she explained, her voice laced with fear. It's a creature, a monstrous entity that thrives in the Backrooms environment. Felix, a rare moment of seriousness etched on his face, scoffed. Seriously, Josh, you don't even know about the monsters of the Backrooms? Dr. Selvig, his voice firm with urgency, cut through their bickering. Enough. Whether you believe it or not, the bacterium is real, and it's dangerous. We need to keep moving, find shelter before it finds us. With renewed determination, albeit tinged with trepidation, they pressed on. The corridors stretched before them, an endless labyrinth of yellow monotony. Fear gnawed at him, the memory of the monstrous footsteps and the chilling scream a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Felix, his bravado starting to wane, groaned. I can't walk anymore, Doc. My legs are killing me. Dr. Selvig stopped, his gaze sweeping the desolate landscape. We need to find a safe place to rest, he acknowledged, his voice laced with concern. But staying put is too risky. We're sitting ducks for both the creature and the bacterium. He scanned the corridors, his eyes searching for any sign of refuge. There, he pointed, his voice laced with hope. See that doorway? Let's head there and check it out. It might be our only option. With a shared sigh of exhaustion, they trudged towards the doorway, their hope flickering like a dying flame in the oppressive silence. The Backrooms, it seemed, were determined to test their limits, throwing new horrors at them with each step they took. But they were a team, bound together by their shared experience and a desperate desire to survive. The battered survivors reached the doorway, its surface chipped and dusty. Felix, his beard twitching with anxiety, stopped before it. Wait, he muttered, his voice laced with fear. Don't open it. Remember the goo. I don't want any more surprises, especially of the sticky variety. Despite Felix's apprehension, a flicker of amusement danced in the eyes of Sarah and Josh. All right, Mr. Mismatched Mittens, Sarah chuckled. We'll be careful, no sudden goo this time. Dr. Selvig, his visor glinting in the dim light, stepped forward and cautiously pushed the door open. A musty odor wafted out, along with the creaking of aged hinges. Inside, they saw a flight of stairs leading downwards, swallowed by the darkness. Felix's face contorted in protest. No way am I going down there, he grumbled. Stairs are bad luck in this place, haven't you learned? Sarah let out a soft, disbelieving laugh. Seriously, Felix? Stairs? You're getting scared by stairs now. Josh, ever the voice of reason, interjected. Whether we like it or not, Felix, it might be our only option. We can't stay here forever, and the scream keeps getting closer. His words were punctuated by another blood-curdling shriek, echoing through the corridors, closer this time, sending shivers down their spines. Dr. Selvig, his voice firm with urgency, nudged them towards the stairs. He's right. We need to get down there now. The bacterium might be upon us, and this might be the only way to avoid encountering it. Without further debate, they huddled together, their hands interlaced for comfort and support, and started their descent into the darkness. The stairs were cold and damp beneath their boots, each creak amplified in the oppressive silence. As they reached the bottom, a faint glimmer of light flickered in the distance. It was a small room, dimly lit by a sputtering lantern. Relief washed over them, a temporary respite from the ever-present fear. Hope flickered like a flickering candle as the four friends cautiously explored the basement. Their journey had been fraught with danger, but the dusty room with its forgotten objects offered a sense of sanctuary, a temporary pause in the relentless pursuit of escape. Suddenly, their attention was drawn to another door, hidden behind a mound of dusty crates. With a heavy thud, they pushed it open, and what they saw brought forth a mixture of confusion and amusement. Before them lay the familiar yellow expanse of the Backrooms, but with a twist. It was a train platform, complete with 2 elevated tracks and a central platform. 2 sets of gleaming metal tracks stretched into the distance, vanishing into the haze of the yellow mist. "What the?" Sarah exclaimed, a mix of bewilderment and amusement in her voice. "Our metro station in the Backrooms. Did the Backrooms suddenly get an upgrade?" Felix, ever the jester, roared with laughter. "Well, I'll be darned. Backrooms, getting fancy with the public transportation system. Maybe they offer express trains to the exit." But beneath the laughter, a wave of uncertainty washed over them. This unexpected addition to the Backrooms landscape was both intriguing and unnerving. Could this be their ticket to freedom, or was it just another cruel twist in their journey? Josh, ever the pragmatist, turned towards Dr. Selvig, a question burning in his eyes. "So, Doc, what now? Should we try this train?" Dr. Selvig, his face etched with a thoughtful frown, examined the platform. He pointed towards one of the tracks, where a red signal light glinted ominously. "This might be the Backrooms train," he conceded, his voice laced with caution. "But there's a problem." "What problem?" Sarah asked, her voice laced with apprehension. Dr. Selvig gestured towards the tracks. "One line is out of service. The tracks are blocked, leaving only this one operational. But the signal is red." A tense silence fell upon the group. The platform, a beacon of hope just moments ago, now seemed shrouded in an aura of uncertainty. They were presented with a choice: wait at the platform, hoping for a train that might never come, or venture back into the perilous corridors of the Backrooms, with the bacterium still a looming threat. Felix, who moments ago was regaling them with his comedic take on the Backrooms public transportation, slumped onto a nearby bench, his face etched with fatigue. "Ugh, can we just stay here for a while? My legs feel like they've walked a million miles." The red signal cast an eerie glow on their faces, as they stood on the platform, a microcosm of the larger dilemma they faced. The red signal cast an oppressive silence over the platform, mirroring the tension that hung heavy in the air. Felix, exhausted from their relentless exploration, slumped onto a nearby bench, his chin resting on his fists. Sarah, unable to quell her anxiety, paced back and forth, her gaze fixed on the empty tracks. "Do you think a train will ever come?" she asked, her voice laced with apprehension. Felix, his eyes barely open, mumbled a noncommittal grunt. The thrill of finding a train had faded, replaced by the crushing weight of uncertainty. As Sarah continued her restless pacing, Josh approached Felix, hesitantly taking a seat on the bench beside him. "So, how'd you end up here?" he asked gently, his voice tinged with curiosity. Felix, startled from his semi-slumber, raised an eyebrow. "Why do you want to know?" he grunted, a hint of suspicion in his voice. Josh offered a sheepish smile. "No reason, just trying to pass the time. Thought it might be nice to share some stories." Felix, after a moment of deliberation, sighed. "Fine," he conceded, his gruff exterior softening slightly. "So, I was driving home from a bar late one night. There wasn't a soul on the road, and I wasn't speeding or anything. Then, out of nowhere, this massive ruckus hit my car. It felt like I drove through a wall, only there was no wall." He paused, his voice growing quiet. "When I opened my eyes, I was here. This yellow wasteland. I've been wandering around ever since, hoping to find a way out." A moment of silence descended, filled only with the distant hum of the flickering lights above. They were strangers thrown together in an unimaginable situation, yet their shared fear and uncertainty forged a bond. Suddenly, Sarah stopped her pacing. Her eyes, wide with surprise, were fixed on the red signal. It had switched to green. The red signal had cast a heavy cloud of despair over the platform, but the shift to green sent a surge of excitement through the four friends. Relief washed over their faces, their eyes shining with newfound hope. Perhaps, after all, this Backrooms train was their ticket out. "It's coming!" exclaimed Sarah, her voice barely a whisper. Her gaze remained fixed on the tracks, waiting for the first glimpse of the approaching train. Josh, his face lit with anticipation, turned towards Dr. Selvig. "But where are we going? There could be countless stations on this line. How do we know which one is the exit?" Sarah chimed in, her voice laced with concern. "Yeah, Doc, you haven't mentioned anything about the exit station. Dr. Selvig, his face etched with a thoughtful frown, stroked his beard. I don't know the exact location of the exit, he admitted. But I believe the last station might hold the key. It always seemed different, somehow. Felix scoffed. Different? How different? Doc, you want us to walk through countless stations, searching for this so-called different one. Dr. Selvig met Felix's gaze, his voice firm. I trust my gut on this, Felix. The last station is our best chance. The air crackled with tension as Felix grumbled under his breath. Despite his doubts, he knew they had no other choice. The train, their only hope in sight, was their only option. They waited, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. Minutes stretched into an eternity, the silence broken only by the distant hum of the lights above. The red signal loomed like a bad omen, a constant reminder of their precarious situation. Just as hope began to wane, a rumbling sound echoed through the platform. They watched with bated breath as a sleek, metallic train emerged from the yellow mist, its headlights cutting through the gloom. A collective gasp escaped their lips. Relief and excitement battled within them, but the moment of triumph was short-lived. As the train screeched to a halt, the green signal above them flickered once, then turned a sinister red. The doors remained firmly shut, the train standing there, mockingly out of reach. Disappointment and frustration washed over them. The light of hope had flickered and died, leaving them in a deeper darkness than before. The red signal flickered ominously above, casting long shadows across the platform. But against all odds, the train doors slid open with a hiss, offering a chance, however slim, at escape. Get in, Dr. Selvig barked, his voice laced with urgency. Without hesitation, the four friends scrambled onto the train, their hearts pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The doors hissed shut behind them, sealing their fate with the metallic hum of the closing doors. The train lurched forward slowly, its movements jerky and uneven. The interior was dimly lit, revealing rows of empty seats and an eerie stillness. There was no crew, no conductor, no sign of the mysterious force powering this anomaly in the back rooms. Sarah, her voice strained but laced with a touch of morbid humor, broke the silence. So, who exactly is driving this thing? Dr. Selvig, his face grim, shook his head. I don't know. I didn't see any driver. Josh, ever the pragmatist, voiced his concern. Are you sure this is safe? What if it crashes without a driver? Sarah rolled her eyes. Seriously, Josh, now's not the time to think about crashing trains. As they settled into their seats, the tension gave way to a strange sense of anticipation. The train, despite its unnerving peculiarities, was their only hope of escape. The silence stretched on, punctuated only by the rhythmic hum of the train. Finally, Josh, unable to contain his curiosity, turned towards Dr. Selvig. Doc, he began, his voice hesitant, we haven't heard your story yet. How did you end up in the back rooms? Dr. Selvig, who had been staring out the window at the endless yellow landscape, sighed. His gaze fell upon his gloved hands, his expression filled with a mix of regret and longing. It all started with a research project, he began, his voice low and heavy. My team was studying anomalies, dimensional rifts, things most people would scoff at. We were convinced there was more to reality than what meets the eye. He paused, taking a deep breath. We were right, but in the worst way possible. During one of our experiments, something went horribly wrong. The rift we were studying became unstable, and he trailed off, his voice choked with emotion. The others waited, their eyes filled with empathy. I was the only one who survived, he continued, his voice barely a whisper. I found myself here, in this wasteland, with no way back. He looked at him, his eyes filled with a flicker of hope. But maybe, just maybe, this train is our way out. Maybe it leads back to our world, or at least somewhere beyond this yellow hell. The train continued its slow, relentless journey, carrying not just passengers but a burden of shared fear, hope, and the promise of a story yet to be told. 6 agonizing hours had crawled by. The train, a beacon of hope, had transformed into a metal coffin hurtling through the oppressive yellow landscape. Finally, it lurched to a halt, the doors hissing open with a finality that echoed in the tense silence. With a mixture of trepidation and weary anticipation, the 4 friends stepped onto the platform. The air was thick with the oppressive silence that permeated the back rooms. They gazed around, their eyes searching for any sign of an exit, a change, anything to break the endless monotony of yellow. But their hopes were dashed. The platform stretched before them, identical to the countless others they had encountered. The same yellow walls, the same dim lighting, the same oppressive silence. No exit, no escape. Felix, the frustration boiling over, slammed his fist against the metal railing. "Where's your so-called exit, Doc? We wasted hours on this ridiculous train ride, only to find ourselves right back where we started." Sarah and Josh exchanged worried glances, their faces etched with disappointment. Dr. Selvig, his face pale and drawn, stared at the identical platform in disbelief. "Wait," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. This isn't right. There should be something different. I don't understand." Felix, his anger mounting, turned on Dr. Selvig, his voice dripping with venom. "So, we wasted our time here, and there's no exit. This is all your fault, Doc. At least we were safe in the back rooms. Now we're trapped here, all because of your stupid plans and rumors." Dr. Selvig, his jaw clenched, met Felix's gaze. "Whoa, mate, that's harsh. At least I'm trying to do something for us. You haven't even offered a single suggestion." But Felix's rage drowned out his words. "Get us out of the back rooms. You got us stuck here forever. I shouldn't have trusted you, Dr. Delusional." The simmering tension erupted. Felix lunged forward, his fist aimed at Dr. Selvig's face. Dr. Selvig, surprised by the sudden attack, barely managed to raise his arm in time to block the blow. The metal platform echoed with the thud of their impact. Sarah and Josh, caught off guard by the sudden escalation, watched in horror as the fight unfolded. Felix, fueled by frustration and despair, rained blows on Dr. Selvig, who desperately tried to defend himself. Sarah, her voice cracking with fear, screamed, "Stop it! Stop it, both of you!" But her pleas fell on deaf ears. The fight continued, a brutal ballet of desperation and anger, played out against the backdrop of the unending yellow wasteland. Josh, finally finding his voice, took a tentative step forward. "Guys, we need to stop fighting. This isn't helping anyone," but his words were lost in the chaos. The fight, fueled by fear, anger, and the crushing weight of their predicament, raged on. The fight between Felix and Dr. Selvig had left him all bruised and shaken. The air crackled with tension, the silence broken only by their ragged breaths. Just as despair threatened to engulf them, Josh, his eyes scanning the platform in a desperate search for anything, caught a glimpse of something unusual. "Hey guys, look!" he exclaimed, his voice laced with excitement. "There's a door behind that vending machine." Dr. Selvig, his face still flushed from the altercation, turned towards Josh, a flicker of hope rekindled in his eyes. "See, Felix," he said, his voice strained but firm. "I told you there was an exit." Felix, his pride momentarily humbled, mumbled an apology. All right, I'm sorry," he conceded. "I was wrong. Let's just get out of here." Sarah, a smile breaking through the tension, walked towards the door with newfound hope. "We're not trapped after all," she said. "Let's open it." With bated breath, they approached the door and pushed it open. The familiar yellow landscape greeted them, but there was a difference. A large wooden board stood before them, its surface etched with a complex maze. "There you have it," Dr. Selvig said, his voice filled with cautious optimism. "The maze. Complete it safely, and we might just find the exit." Sarah, her eyes gleaming with determination, nodded. "We're almost there. Let's do this." But Felix, fatigue etched on his face, slumped to the ground. "Can we rest before we tackle this maze? I've been walking all day, I can't go through another challenge right now." Josh, understanding Felix's exhaustion, interjected. All right, he soothed. "But where do we camp for the night? There are no beds here." Dr. Selvig, his eyes scanning the platform, settled on the train. "We camp inside the train," he announced. "It's the most sheltered place we have, and with any luck, a few hours of rest will recharge our batteries." Sarah, however, voiced a lingering concern. "But what if the train starts moving again? We'll be trapped, moving away from the exit." Dr. Selvig, a hint of a smirk playing on his lips, reached into his pocket. "Well," he said, pulling out a pair of pliers, "let's just make sure it doesn't." With a swift and practiced movement, he approached the train's electrical panel and expertly tampered with the wiring. A spark, a flicker, and the train plunged into darkness. The engine sputtered and died, silenced by Dr. Selvig's quick thinking. As the four friends settled into their makeshift beds inside the train, exhausted but not defeated, a sliver of hope remained. They had found a potential exit, and Dr. Selvig's resourceful action provided them with a safe haven for the night. The train, now a silent sentinel on the platform, offered him a temporary reprieve from the relentless yellow of the backrooms. Inside, the four friends sought solace in sleep, their bodies aching from the day's ordeal. Sarah and Felix, exhausted from the emotional and physical toll, were already fast asleep. In the dimly lit carriage, Josh and Dr. Selvig remained awake, their minds swirling with thoughts and anxieties. Josh, unable to shake off the day's events, turned to Dr. Selvig, his voice barely a whisper. "Still awake, Doc?" Dr. Selvig, his eyes closed but not yet asleep, sighed softly. Finally, he replied, "We're close, Josh. We just need to complete that maze, and we might just be free." A chuckle escaped Josh's lips, tinged with nervousness. "Yeah, but it won't be easy, will it?" "No," Dr. Selvig admitted, his voice grave. "But we have each other. We've faced worse, haven't we?" Josh, a hint of pride in his voice, nodded. "We have, and somehow, we're still here." A moment of comfortable silence settled between him, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey through the backrooms. "You know," Josh began, his voice breaking the silence, "the best thing about all this is meeting you guys. Being stuck in an office every day was getting pretty dull." Dr. Selvig managed a faint smile. "Well, I wouldn't trade this adventure for my research lab any day," he joked dryly. But a hint of longing flickered in his eyes. Josh, sensing the shift in mood, added jokingly, "Yeah, right. All right, Doc, get some sleep. We need all our energy for the maze tomorrow." Josh closed his eyes, the rhythmic hum of the silenced train acting as a lullaby. Dr. Selvig watched him for a moment, a flicker of warmth in his gaze. He then murmured, "Sleep well, accountant boy." As they drifted off to sleep, a fragile sense of hope flickered between them. They were a team, bound by their shared experience, and in the face of the unknown maze that awaited them, they held on to the belief that they could overcome it, together. The backrooms had tested them, challenged them, but they had not broken. And as they slept, they dreamt of escape, of a world beyond the yellow walls, and a future where they could return to their lives, forever changed by their time in the backrooms.